Hello and welcome. This is City of Heroes on the private bootleg server Everlasting, and we are once again with our natural tanker, Invulnerability Super Strength, Liberty Lass, who is a high school student in Paragon City and is superhumanly strong and invulnerable. And I just got her to level 8. It only took 2 or 3 more minions. I didn't realize we were quite that close. And now we have to make a choice about what powers, and I'm really not sure what I want to take here. There are lots of good choices. Unyielding is super tempting because we become resistant to damage and we resist knockback, sleep, hold, immobilize, disorient, stun, and things like that. And so this is a toggle that we keep on, which is super useful. This is resist elements, which is another passive that's very useful as well. And temporary invulnerability is a toggle. We need all of these. There's also Haymaker, which would increase our damage output and make soloing go faster. But at this point, I feel like we're confronting enough of our different mes effects that it's probably. I want to take Unyielding. I want to take Resist Elements. So I'm trying to think here. We are going to need Hover eventually. If we figure Unyielding at 8, Haymaker at 10, Resist Elements at 12, Temporary Invulnerability at 14, Energies at 16, Taunt at 18. We got to get Taunt once it becomes available, and then Hand Clap maybe at 20. Might be possible, but then there's also Knockout Blow. We're going to want that fairly early too. So we have a lot of stuff we need to take. And there really isn't, unlike with the Scrapper, where there were a couple things like Warrior's Challenge, who needs it, really, and Crippling Axe Kick, which I hate. We really were, there even were some levels where I was like, geez, I'm going to take the Taunt, the Warrior's Challenge, even though I don't want it, because there's nothing else to take. With this character, there's a lot that we need to take. I feel like we can probably get away till level 10 with Unyielding, because we got away with it on the Scrapper until level 10, which means we want to take one of these powers. I'm very. I'm going to go ahead and take Unyielding. I just like having Mes Defense. I'm going to put it right over here. So let's take a look at the info on Unyielding. What Unyielding provides us. It takes 0.26 endurance a second. What it provides us is resistance to knockback, knock up, repel. It also has 5% smashing and lethal resistance and 10% fire, cold, energy, negative, and toxic. And then it has stun, hold, sleep, and immobilize protection. So this is actually quite the good toggle. I'm fairly sure it didn't have these resistances before. I could be wrong. I don't know if they're enhanceable. Let's take a look at the enhancement screen here and hit detailed info. It looks like they are enhanceable. So that means we're going to want a 6-slot Unyielding and put resistance enhancements on it. So now with resist physical damage, which is resists 10% of smashing and lethal, and with Unyielding on, we have 15% resistance to smashing and lethal and 10% resistance to everything else, which is quite nice. So let's go ahead and turn that toggle on. That's going to just stay on. Very cool. And one of the things I haven't done yet that I keep saying I want to do is visit the tailor and go ahead and do some alternate costumes. Alright, so we have Unyielding on it. This used to be called Unyielding Stance, and when you turned it on, you couldn't move. So it was a really good power, maybe even better than it is now, but you couldn't, like with higher resistances, but you could not move. And so I remember getting myself caught in one where there was a stunner right here, say, right in distance for me. It was an indoor map, and the stunner was over here, and I was over here. And I was fighting some other guys, and I turned on Unyielding, and this guy, it was like a Tsu Inkman or something, or was hitting me with Mez. And as long as Unyielding Stance was on, I was fine. When I turned it off to move toward him, he stunned me. And so I couldn't get out of it, right? If I turned it off, he stunned me. If I turned it on, I couldn't move. And so I actually got caught in this thing where I could not get to him. I could not succeed. He was the last guy I had to kill in the mission, and I could not succeed. And so I actually ended up turning everything off and letting him kill me because I couldn't figure out how to get him. All right, now the last time we so anyway, it's unyielding is not a stance anymore. So the last time we left off, we had this other person in the hollows we haven't confronted yet, and the other one isn't giving me is giving me a bunch of stuff, but not giving me any story arcs, and it looks like she's not going to. These do not look like story arc missions, so I don't know what's going to happen with her. So let's try the Flux because we were given him also, and let's see if Flux um, gives us a story arc mission after we do a couple of missions for him. I'm not really sure. It might be that we have to get to level 10 to do the next Hollow story arc, and if that's true, then we'll just do the missions in here. I want to stay mostly in the Hollows because this is different from the last character we did, and I'm trying to make this playthrough a little bit different. So for example, my other character, I said I was going to stay out of Croatoa with her. I was going to bring a magic character to Croatoa, but this is not a magic character. So what I may do is use this character in Croatoa, but not use this character in Strika Island. We'll just see to try to keep it different. Where is this guy? Is he inside? Oh, here he is, way in the back here. All right, buddy. There's Flux. Available missions. So, first things first, Liberty Lass, you've got to be cautious. I'm putting my hide on the line for you here, and I sure hope you're worth it. If you're willing to work with me and be discreet, I can give you tips on what's going on with the outcast. First, I'd like to see you take to the streets. So now we're going to defeat 10 outcasts. So a lot of these are defeat 10 missions, defeat 15, which, you know, I could live without, actually, but we should have no problem taking these guys out now because we're higher level, and also we have resistance to everything now, except Psionic. You will notice Psionic is the hole in invulnerability tankers. Psionic's a hole in a lot of things, but each tanker class, because they have such strong defenses, has one weakness. I wanted actually to choose willpower for this character. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but because I feel like her power is kind of based on willpower, but willpower is not as vulnerable to Psionic, and I really wanted the Psionic hole in her defenses just because it's appropriate for the character. Alright, we don't need all this luck, so I'm going to go ahead and use some. It may be, and I'm not really sure, that there is some taunt built into Unyielding. It used to be that the tanker toggles also cause a taunt. We can maybe try to check that if we can find a Grey Con that doesn't aggro to me, and then I turn the toggle on and see if they suddenly aggro. That's what used to happen with Invincibility. That has a taunt built in, but I don't know if this other one, if the other toggles have a taunt. I feel like they used to, but I'm not really sure. I know for sure Invincibility had it. Okay, we don't need Awaken. So let's see if we can find some Grey Cons. Alright, so these guys are level 5. Let's see if they aggro to me without the toggle on. Oh, they aggroed already. So we're going to have to get a little higher level than them, or test it with the Hellions, on like level 1 Hellions or something. Seems like there's quite the animation delay with Unyielding. Not sure what the story is with that. Alright, so we've done enough outcasts now. I really wasn't planning to... I wasn't trying to fight these guys to do the mission. I was just trying to see if I could get them to not aggro to me, but we'll have to try that another time. So let's go back to our contact. Flux. Who is in this little cubby hole here. This little nook. And get available missions. Ah, and here we go. We have Flux the Outcast. So we do have a story arc here, so I guess the other character just doesn't give story arcs. Flux says, check it out. I've got a hot tip today. Some of my buddies in the Outcasts are planning a raid on a warren infested with trolls. If you can get there, you can put a lot of bad guys in jail. If you can't, well, the caverns around the hollows are anything but stable, and the outcasts are hoping that they can cause a cave-in on the trolls. So, do we have anything to sell him? Store. So one of the things I haven't actually, if we look at this, you can do two things. You can abandon a mission. If you abandon it, I think he will give it to you again. You can complete it. You can't do this for all of them, but if you're just sick of the mission, you can hit complete and just get rid of it. I generally don't do that. By the way, I was one of the people who suggested that originally in City of Heroes. You could not abandon missions, and you could not auto-complete them. What you could do if it was a door mission was you could walk out or disconnect. Like you could walk out or even stay in the mission and disconnect. When you reconnected, you were outside and the mission had been restarted. And so if you didn't like it, if you got in and saw it was too hard, you could just get out and just go do other things and then come back at a higher level, and it would stay the level it was when you first walked in the door. But there, it used to be, and I've mentioned this in the Scrapper playthrough, used to be you could only have 3 missions at a time, and it was possible back in the day to end up with 3 missions you could not do, right? Like 2 missions in Paris Park, and if you're solo, you can't even go in there at, like, say, level 5, and then a mission in Atlas Park that's just too hard for you because it's Vajjalok or something, and then you had 3 missions and they were all too hard for you. You couldn't reset the mission difficulty back in the day. You couldn't do any of that, and so basically you had to just ignore your missions and street sweep for a level or 2 until you could be powerful enough to do your missions, which is fine at level 5, but when you're like level 12, it took a long time. Alright, so now what we have to do is disarm 2 bombs to prevent the cave-ins. And now where they're unyielding, we have some good solid defense. 10% to everything, 15% to smashing and lethal, which is mostly what these guys do. So with that and Dull Pain, we should be in really good shape as a low-level character. By the way, much better shape than our Scrapper was. At this level, the Scrapper only had defense, and pretty much only had it to melee damage, right? And it was 10%. We have 10% or 15% resistance to everything. Actually, no, the Scrappers was, what, 13.8%, but only to melee, right? And range and area effects didn't count. So we got a recharge enhancer, that is good. We will put that on Dull Pain. We can now use Dull Pain every 5 minutes and 13 seconds, which is way better than every 6 minutes. So we definitely want 3 recharge enhancers on Dull Pain and 3 heals. And then that will be amazing. It'll be like almost, it'll make us so powerful when we use it. It's one of the most useful powers. That, Unyielding, and Unstoppable are the 3 best powers in the Invulnerability set. And we're going to want a 6-slot Unstoppable and make sure we get that on recharge enhancers as well. This is a character I might want to use Hasten for to increase the speed with which both Dull Pain and Unstoppable regenerate, but I'm going to have to look up the math on that, because it may be that once you put 3 recharge enhancers, Hasten doesn't really do anything more. Again, that was a nerf people used to use. So what they would do is they would 6-slot Hasten. Back when the game first came out, after a 3rd slot, it didn't give diminishing returns. So if you put 6 damage on a power, it would do 200% damage, right? Plus 200% instead of plus 100%. And if you put 6 recharge enhancers, say, on Dull Pain, right, it would, instead of recharging with 3 SOs on it, it will go from 6 to 3 minutes. With 6 on it, it will go from 6 to 2, and it lasts 2 minutes, so you could do perma Dull Pain, right? And with Hasten, you could even, that was like adding an extra SO recharger on all of your powers, right? But it was a click power. So Hasten would recharge, I don't know, let's say it would last a minute and recharge in 2.5 or something. And you could put 6 rechargers on Hasten, get Hasten down to like 50 seconds, and it would last a minute. And then you could just be permanently hasted, and all of your powers would have that extra recharge enhancer on them. And with that, you could make Dull Pain permanent, you could make Unstoppable permanent, right? And then, like, people didn't even need their toggles, because Dull Pain being permanent and adding, like, I don't know, 50% of their hit points, and Unstoppable being permanent, and it adds a huge amount of resistance and everything. I'll show you that in a second. But making that permanent just made you so powerful. Oh, we can't get. So it's resistant to all damage, but it's not going to let me check the info on it, which is frustrating. But I can't remember exactly what Unstoppable does, but it's quite powerful. And it was like, it's basically like almost as powerful as your toggles, but it doesn't cost endurance all the time like a toggle. So having toggles on really kills your endurance, as you've seen with the not even completely toggle heavy, not even finished scrapper that we have, right? And this character is going to be running toggles too, temporary invulnerability, unyielding, etc. And so to try and reduce the amount of reliance on toggles, people were doing things like trying to get their click powers permanent so they didn't have to use toggles. Did the same thing with the Super Reflex Scrapper. Elude is their last power, and level 38, and it gives as much, I think it used to give, I don't know what it does now, but it used to give as much defense as the passives and the toggles combined, so it was like 30 defense, and it was permanent. I'm sorry, it was 30 defense, and it was a click power, so it would just last, say, 2 minutes. And then, when it dropped, you couldn't use it again for, say, 2 minutes, and people were able to make that permanent with recharge enhancers and haste. Right, so perma-haste, perma-elude, or perma-haste, perma-unstoppable is what they used to do. And the developer said, look, that's not what we intended. We don't want you to take this power set and only take like half the powers and ignore the rest because the half that you have are so good. So they nerfed a lot of this. Looks like there's a dead body over here. Alright, well, let's go ahead and start smacking these guys around. Now, this is again a case where if I were a high-level tanker with invincibility as well as unyielding and temporary invulnerability and a little bit more area effect attacks like hand clap and foot stomp, right? You'd come into a room like this and gather everybody up and get them all near you. And then once they're all surrounding you, you would just attack them. And you would switch from guy to guy, not trying to take anybody out too much because, again, with invincibility, every guy around you increases your defense. So you want to have a bunch of weak mobs surrounding you while you work on a boss. So with scrappers, you've seen me, if you watch my other playlist, with a scrapper, my goal is to go after the white cons first and just take them out as fast as possible. With a tanker, you want to leave the white cons because they can't do anything to you. Right? You can see this, they're not really doing anything to me. And you want to gather them all up around you once you have invincibility and go after the boss and use the white cons that are surrounding you as a buff against the boss. It'll increase your defense, and once we get invincibility, I'll show you how that works. So now we have 2 lieutenants here. I'm going to go ahead and dull paint to get more hit points, and then we'll fight the 2 lieutenants. And now we have some defense against that, and they can't stun me. So that's only 10% defense right now. Eventually, with enhancements, we can get it up to 16 defense on the unyielding, right? And we have 15% on the smashing and lethal resistance. We can get that up to about 23% once we have single origin enhancements on it. So this guy is doing electric to us. We have now a little bit of resistance to that. I don't know if it shows it under combat. Let's see. Grease lightning smashes you for smashing damage, shocks you with charged brawl, and drains some of your endurance. It doesn't really say how much resistance you you have. Alright, there's a dead body or something over here. Let's see what this gives us. Get a clue. And the clue says, a strange diary page. So it reads, I hear them chattering constantly in my mind, the minions of Igneous. Oh, this sounds like a rock guy. Am I going crazy? I am beginning to understand their strange language. I believe the word logo means home. Well, that is interesting. Alright, now we gotta go this way and find the second bomb. This is quite the large mission, so I guess we'll only do this mission in this episode. Alright, let's see. Trolls? Hi guys. Liberty lass. For freedom. I don't remember how you... Is it F10 where you say your battle cry? Oh, it shouted into iconic. Didn't mean to do that. Put it on local. Alright, let me warn them. Sorry, testing a battle cry. Alright, let's go into the roleplay channel here. If we're on local and I hit F10, there it is, that's what we want. So that's our battle cry for now. If I can think of a better one, I'll change it. Wow, did a lot of damage to me because I was fooling around with the chat channel. Alright, so we're healing up. As you notice, even with an invulnerability tanker at this level, we are going to have to take a knee sometimes because we don't have all of our defenses in yet. But unyielding is a big help. Alright, let's hit these guys. And one of the things that we have to deal with a tanker is, yes, we do have bigger defenses, but if you think about, like, with the Scrapper, right? If you watch that, one of the reasons I have so much trouble in the lower levels is because with certain things like Vajalox, it takes so many hits to get them down. And same thing with these guys. It's not that they're doing that much damage to me, per se. It's that it takes me so many hits to get them down that I have to stand there and take more and more punishment. And notice they hit me a lot more because I don't have defense, I just have resistance. Now we will get defense when we get invincibility, but we don't have it yet. Now we're coming up on the final bomb, and we'll probably meet a boss here, so hopefully Delpain will trigger, or will refresh. Looks like just 2 lieutenants, so we should be alright. And Delpain has refreshed, so that's good. Alright, so we took care of him. Took care of him. Let's go ahead and Delpain. And then we can take this guy. We have a lot more hit points now. Knockdown is good, except when I do that. I've always felt like the martial arts attacks seem so much more, I don't know, solid than the super strength, which is weird because super strength is, of course, super strength. So it should seem more solid, but I don't know if it's the visuals or the combination of the sound and the visuals, the fact that martial arts is kicks instead of punches. I don't know if it's the animations, but like when you do that gut punch, it just doesn't seem that solid compared to the kicks like Thunder Kick and Crane Kick, especially of martial arts. Maybe because of the knockback, and you go send the guys flying, which this one doesn't. It just knocks them down, if anything. I don't know. So we've gotten all the bad guys done, and now we have to disarm this last bomb. It's a good thing Liberty Lass knows how to disarm bombs, or there'd be an explosion. And we completed the mission. Gosh, almost half a level for these 2 missions. Alright, so that, I think, went pretty well. Let's call our contact up. And he says, "Thanks for taking care of that outcast bombing Liberty Lass. I have to admit, I was a little worried. It's hard being deep undercover sometimes. All the lying, the dishonesty. You start to wonder whether you're the same person you used to be. But then you help a hero do something good for the world, and you know you're exactly who you wanted to be all along." And then his available missions. He says, "I've got a tip for you, Liberty Lass, and it's a doozy. The outcasts have learned that the trolls are planning to raid an abandoned office Lieutenant Wincott's been using as a base of operations. The unit is made up of trained men, Liberty Lass, but they can't stand up to the trolls in a fair fight. I need you to rescue them from the trolls. A lot of good men's lives are on the line, and it's not a time mission, so we will do that next time, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be back next time with another installment of City of Heroes."